Okay, any ideas about a committee to be struck with the Legion? Sam, are you interested?
Very.
Okay.
Only if asked. Only if asked. Okay. I'd be interested in
Could
it.
consider you asked. Teresa?
I certainly could and would. It would be nice as the chairman for the Keep Gravelbourg Beautiful to be aware of what's going on both sides, so
Is that
And
enough?
then,
Well, 3 is typical for
Yeah.
most
Okay.
because the cultural center was involved in the initial setup, I think it'd be important to be
yes.
there too.
It's just a time constraint.
And what about tots?
Hmm?
What about tots?
The cultural center could represent all of their groups, and they may want to strike their own subcommittee with their various people. It just seems like it's going to be a pretty big committee if we have that many people.
I think the biggest thing is you've got Legion, and you got kids, and you got venues. You gotta work together, and I guess it has to come up that way, I would think.
Because you can strike a committee and request that the cultural representative appoint
So,
a member to the committee.
okay. Or maybe we want to reserve 2 spots for them, and they can
Maybe.
decide if they want to
Well, it
have.
probably wouldn't hurt to have 2 spots,
Yeah.
because tots may want to be
Mhm. Yeah,
represented.
yeah, absolutely.
So 3 of you, 3 Legionnaire, and 2 from the culture center. Makes sense?
And, well, you're representing the beautiful,
Oh, Keep Gravelbourg Beautiful?
keep our beautiful.
Yeah,
so
but
you-
council as well.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of,
Hmm.
it's not Keep Gravelbourg Beautiful Committee, so I'm just representing council on that one.
Okay, so you want to make a motion to that effect?
Okay, so we're striking a committee, 3 members from council, 3 from the Legion, and 2 from the cultural center, right?
Yes.
Who are our 3 members that we're going to appoint to this committee?
Andre Lorraine, Sam Hawkins, Teresa Williams,
What are we calling this committee?
Central Park Memorial.
I will keep the Legion handy.
I think I will go to the first one.
Yeah,
Okay,
Central Memorial Park.
you're making the motion, then,
I am
Nancy?
making a motion.
Okay,
Okay, good, all in favor?
we need a second.
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 Deanna? All in favor? Okay.
Did you vote, Paul?
Eight opposed.
Okay, 8.1 is use of the convent for filming request. Discussion.
So are they, is it a television show that they're doing? Because I went to that and it's more podcasts. I didn't see,
APTN
Yeah.
is on TV.
Yeah.
oh, it's on TV. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Aboriginal People's Television Network.
Very popular network,
I actually found this a very interesting subject, and I was wondering if perhaps Ray might have some contacts with his people who might also be able to add some stories as far as the convent and the indigenous peoples in the area. You don't have Aboriginal contacts? No indigenous people?
I just went to university. I don't know which university, but
No one?
no,
Okay.
we can't, we got a bunch of council.
Okay.
I mean,
They'll do their own research.
Yeah, yeah.
They'll do their own research.
Okay.
So they're asking for the use of it.
I see no request in there. To me, most of the correspondence was not actionable.
Well, we've already made a motion, Mr. Chair, to allow them to use.
Yeah, that's already been done in.
That was
Oh,
already
we
done.
did talk about it after.
Yeah, I think the policy was passed a couple of months ago.
And they make a $500 donation to each museum we work with.
So that's a plus.
Yeah, that's more than we would get if we charged them rent, so that's a nice.
This is a different filming crew than the other.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've had several requests this year. It's really nice to see.
So we just read it, we received the file.
To me, unless there's a specific motion on the correspondence, just do them as a lump.
So I move we receive the file.
Okay. Seconder. Diana. Oh, sorry.
That's okay. I'm early.
All in favor? Okay, general information, SUMA municipal update.
Receiving five?
Well, let's go with 9.2 and 9.3 all together.
Yeah.
Any discussion on it? We can just go to receive and file. Motion. Andre? Seconder? Well, I'm looking over here, not doing this up. Diana? All in favor? Carried. Okay, 10.1 is the Southwest Transportation.
Is that the Wings of Saskatchewan?
No, we did that.
Oh, that's the other one we did. Okay, gotcha.
Just a report.
Yeah.
Motion to receive and
I'll
file.
make the motion to
Andre?
receive the file.
Seconder. Teresa. All in favor? Carried. CEO report. A lot of things have been happening.
So the question I have is, that there's extra costs at the arena for the purging the air out of the brine line system. Was the valves not functioning anymore?
No, okay. Paramechanical was the general. Stevenson was the sub-trade to paramechanical. Our town foreman went in and did stuff with the sub-trade, not the general manager, or not the general contractor. Now we're not done, so somebody has to pay for this, because we're not going back in there.
Like it was extra work with the subcontractor?
Well, it was work that he said he would do, so the town. So now,
Or we as a town, we were gonna do, and
well, we didn't know that. We didn't know that.
So our foreman committed us to do
Yes.
work.
So now we need somebody to go fix it, finish it.
And did we have any idea of what the cost?
No, I don't.
Unfortunately not.
But it has to get done within a few weeks.
And how was that missed?
It wasn't, just the town foreman left.
Okay, I never,
Like everything that was done by our crew, nobody knew about.
wouldn't that have come to the Public Works Committee, like being talked about?
Yeah, we talked about it. How come he did it with our crew and equipment, we didn't know anything about it?
No, he didn't tell us.
When we
He didn't advise
okayed the
us.
tender, we didn't know he was doing anything, he didn't tell us.
He didn't even advise us.
We were not advised at all, all of a sudden we see him over there working. So, anyhow, there's stuff that was not, because Stevenson said this kind of work was to be done by other, and that was, the other was our town foreman and town crew.
Yeah, the tender is silent.
Yeah.
In that area?
Yeah.
So now, I'm sure it's not going to be a big deal, but I know when, who comes and sets up our rink from Leonard? BJ's?
Well, the refrigeration people.
yeah,
Well, that's them usually.
yeah, usually, I think.
That we have a leakage in the Freon. When it was 45 degrees outside, she popped inside and leaked out a whole bunch of stuff, so somebody has to come and fix fix that. That's just caused by heat. And they'll have to fill it up. So,
That's a recent peak.
yeah,
That was this summer.
this summer. Yeah. When it was-
That was separate from,
Yeah, no, it had nothing to do with any of this. It just, it's 45 degrees out, she must have pressurized and she popped downstairs.
And so when he comes to
You mean
fix that,
The
he can
leak
fix
from
the
the
side.
hydro valve, the relay?
Oh, I don't know, Raymond.
I was there, I was
not-
calling, I was there,
Yeah.
that's a poor, they installed mine, they were vibrating all the time, fatigue and they broke.
Okay, well, that has to be fixed.
Oh, yes,
Yeah, so, okay.
but you didn't lose all the freon.
We
Just
could go
was-
back to Public Works to find out what it would cost roughly. I'm just saying that we got 2
well,
months.
like, we still gotta get it
We
done.
gotta get it done.
regardless.
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
So are we making a motion to,
Receiving file.
Just received.
Yeah, just received and filed. You read there that we're happy to advise that $183,000 of past year's GST rebates filed
Mhm.
by this administration have now been received in full. We're still working on the education tax annual statements from past years.
That is just.
That's a big,
It's about 40,000 less because half of this year's in that total, but
Yeah.
needless to
Still
say.
very good.
yeah.
Good work, guys.
All right, motion to receive and file. Deanna, Teresa, seconder, all in favor? Carried. Paul, did you see none of that? Okay. Report on sufficiency of petition.
oh, I think that's a receiving file.
Yeah.
That's an acknowledgement, not a receiving file.
Acknowledgement.
Okay. Do we need motion on that?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, motion. Ray? Andre? All in favor? Okay, accounts approval. There's 3 batches. Any questions on any of them?
I just have, because I just didn't know what it was for, so it's 18728. And it just said transportation for signs, so I just wasn't sure what
That
that
is,
entailed.
that is kind of goofy, but what
It's too expensive.
What that is the company was contracting another, they were hiring a courier. That's going to stop in the future. They will pay the courier, we will pay them. They weren't charging us freight on it, the courier was billing us.
Okay.
So,
And just out of curiosity, Mr. Chair, 18748.
18748.
Yeah, I'm just looking at, when you look at just town of Gravelbourg, but what's the 2559? Would you happen to know this offhand? It says RNC utility water. Was that for the pool or was that something that happened at the rink?
That would be rec and culture,
I
right?
would
RMC?
guess that's the pool, but I
That
would
would
have
be the pool.
to, have to double check because
Well, no, it's all right, I was just wondering, can you offhand, it's good. It's just a big chunk all of a sudden.
because if there was a water leak that large anywhere else.
Yeah.
Actually, that must be a top off because the rink or the pool costs about $10,000.
Actually, I can explain that because I didn't get to read on the previous bill from our fellow that does that. So this is two months of catch-up on
Okay,
it.
catch up stuff, okay, good.
Because the initial fill would be done back in May.
Right,
Yeah, that's when most of it, then a lot of that evaporation causes the rest.
so they have to keep it going, okay.
Yeah. Okay, motion for accounts for
I've got the question or clarification on 18723.
That's another interesting one. Apparently there was an error. You guys have contracted out tax service that's missing the S in their name. Apparently some stuff was forwarded to the law firm as well, so you had two parties dealing with it at one time. So it was an error a ways back on the tax enforcement.
Okay.
That would be the farmland.
That's what I was wondering, if it was the farmland.
And it was a clerical error?
There was a mistake, like you guys have contracted out your tax enforcement. With the turnover in the office, it's what I've been led to believe is that was, I won't say accidentally, but it was tossed to the lawyer instead of the outfit that's handling the tax enforcement.
It's a committee from, is it government committee or private?
They're out of Manitoba, but that's all, they do tax enforcement in the prairie
And
provinces.
then this one went to the lawyers instead.
It went to both,
To both.
yes.
And so they
So
both
we had
actioned
safe
it,
vote.
and they both paid.
Yeah. It is what it is.
But it is what it is.
Well, I guess it's better to do something twice than not at all.
I'm firm on it.
Okay, any more discussion?
Who's the lawyer?
No, that's it.
Motion to approval of the accounts. Teresa, Paul. All in favor? Carried. Okay, 15.1 is tax abatement request.
Oh, were you approving all of those at once?
you gotta do, there's a couple more.
Yeah.
It's another batch.
There's, because we gotta, I'm assuming.
Oh, I thought we did them all at once.
Yeah,
They're all in here, aren't they?
yeah,
Yeah.
but you
Yeah.
do them separately.
Oh. Okay. Somebody stapled them together. So. Okay.
So I
All
guess I
right,
have
so
to make a motion on
we
that
jumped all
one.
over the place though. Did we stay within our realm the first time?
Yeah.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, now you're on the second.
Now we're on the second batch.
Yeah.
Which I'm assuming two of you have a conflict on.
Yes.
Just a guess, but.
The third actually.
No.
Do we pass a motion on the payment?
Yeah.
You could. There's a recorded vote to be unanimous.
It wouldn't be my party that would have, it's the other party that would have to do it.
So I move we split them in half.
I'll go for that.
No, it's good. It's what it is, so.
Off we go.
You two are declaring, I'm assuming?
I'm not.
Yeah.
No, but we've never done this.
In the past.
This is just,
Well, the second one.
There is no-
overpayment.
It's just a paper.
yeah, I know,
a
it's
paper.
not, it's nothing,
No.
I get paid a certain amount, it's in the books.
No, I'm talking about your
The-
Second batch was
your
an
tax
overpayment.
refunds.
Yeah,
The
you can
refund.
apply for.
Yeah.
We're talking about the refund.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah, you probably should recuse yourself.
There's more.
Ours was 0.
Well,
But we have to.
So,
A motion, do we
Well-
approve?
no, but are you guys declaring an interest?
yes,
Conflict, okay?
Yes.
You
an
should,
interest, but
or
not a
a
conflict.
conflict.
Conflict of interest.
Okay,
Like, we can't vote on it.
no, that's fine,
You should
but it's
leave
not a
the,
conflict
you
either.
should leave the table, or the desk.
Really?
They don't
Really?
have to.
Well, by law.
Well,
We don't need
conflict,
to.
conflict, they're not, they don't have to
Yeah,
leave the
they have to
room,
leave.
but they have to leave the table.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, literally stand up.
And,
I'm okay with
All
that.
right, turn around, put your nose at the
So
wall.
who's running the meeting right now?
okay. No, nobody, I'm just making a motion that we
I
accept.
guess, yeah.
Well, no, if I'm in conflict.
And I'll
yes,
second
I'm
it.
not running the
Yeah.
meeting.
I guess it should be the deputy, I guess it's
Oh,
Teresa.
okay, is that still me?
Yeah, I think that's you.
I thought it was, yeah.
Too much.
Anyway, okay, so you make a motion that we accept. Do I have a seconder?
2021-0009.
Ray, all in favor? Carried.
Okay, who made that and who seconded?
Paul made the motion. Ray seconded.
And Ray seconded.
My only point here is I don't even know why this is a conflict. If you have an overcost on your taxes,
Well,
you
the
can
big
just go
thing-
to the office and if you ask for it,
There's a
you get
paper
The big
trail.
thing is, I haven't found a policy on it. If the policy was passed previously, which it very well may have been, it might be 20 years ago, but it's not so much that it's a conflict because you overpaid. It's not like we're paying you extra money. The big thing is that it could be considered an appearance of a conflict because we're cutting the check, and an appearance of conflict is still a conflict.
Yes.
So it's my recommendation that even if it's iffy, you declare and go.
Okay.
I understand what you're saying, but.
Yeah. Stand up.
Understood.
Yeah, understood.
Okay.
Which leads to very interesting for batch 92.
That's same as setting tax rates,
That's
there's no
remuneration,
conflict.
this is remuneration.
Yeah, why are ours different? We all got the
Well,
same.
this is the interesting, that's why I sent you all out the redacted thing. Some of you have been paying for the SUMA benefits. Some of you have not been paying. Some of you pay into CPP, some of you don't. Income tax, if you're under a certain amount, I forget the exact dollar figure, it doesn't take anything. If you're over, it does. So the dollar amounts are kind of gibberish,
Okay.
and that's why.
Okay. Got
Because
it.
Deanna has been speaking up more lately, but we really,
So we'll penalize it. No,
Motion for the accounts for approval. No, batch 2021-00092, Paul. Seconder is Andre. All in favor? Okay.
15?
that's it.
This is quite a surprise.
The way I read the act, in my humble opinion, if you are going to give a abatement, I highly recommend that you seek a legal opinion before you do so.
Yeah, what I don't get is, why are they even asking this? Don't they pay taxes every year?
Which one are we doing
This
with
is
you?
the,
First one?
You might be looking, I think you're looking, Bond Mead, we're talking about Bond Mead Incorporated. You might be
Yeah,
looking at the
that's-
second one.
They haven't been.
No.
The request number one.
They,
since the building was built, they never paid taxes?
I can't go back that
Okay.
far, but for a very long period of time, it hasn't been. It's either been abated by council, or it just hasn't been levied, or it's been marked as exempt on the assessment roll.
Wouldn't there have been a motion made to do that?
You have to, yeah. you have
Like
to
when
make
the
a motion.
building was built? Or-
There should have been something at that time.
Oh, they might have got a 5-year exemption when they built.
See, and it's
Yeah.
kind of,
I wonder if it just automatically continued.
well,
Is
it could
this,
have. The shocking thing is, and it surprised them as well, is that the building is legally owned by them. It's not that they're managing it. It is their building.
because we have mentioned their name, is this not something that should be in closed session?
We're just not supposed to mention the name.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we did.
No,
That's-
doesn't matter.
They made a request, and
This is-
the requests are public.
Okay,
This is,
okay.
this is open.
Okay.
Yeah, this is open.
Well, wouldn't it be good to go back and find the motion to,
Well, the motion, if the motion was made, it isn't legally valid now. That's the
Our
problem.
problem is that we waited a long time to get our budget done. Not
Yes.
that- And then it's just so much
That's
stuff
not their
happening.
fault.
Huh?
And that's not their fault.
But they've set their budget, so they don't have any money either.
right,
See,
What-
there's,
For what point, that's the only reason I would think of, because otherwise they should be paying the taxes. So I guess is, they got a tax notice,
they got a tax
And they
notice
didn't
and an
come-
assessment notice.
and they didn't come and talk to us then?
They did, they came into the office after they received the tax notice. They did not, upon receipt of the assessment notice. There was some discussion when she was in, because I don't know if they're in, I'm not sure their relationship. They're basically, in essence, managing the service for the province. There was some talk that perhaps the ministry would cover it, and my assumption is they most probably will. Because if it was owned by the ministry, I'm not sure what ministry it is, the building would be tax exempt or gravel levy. but it's privately owned. We tried to shoehorn into any of the tax exemption brackets, something they would fit in, and we were unable to locate something
That would,
fit into it.
So has this organization paid taxes on
Never
it?
have.
Property?
That's
Never have.
Never have, and that's the problem.
Yeah.
It was the shock when they got the bill, all of a sudden, what do we do?
Mm.
Being 25 years on council, I'm shocked. Because this has never hit the table before as a tax exemption except for building it.
Yeah, that's, I think it was built in '83 or something.
I think that's why it'd be interesting to know, was there ever a resolution to continue not doing taxes, or was there an era at that time after the 5 years of tax exemption that tax, you know, that they
It
weren't
never went
taxing,
on the
they
mayor's
just never
list.
did
See,
it.
there for a while, school tax can't be exempt by us. Well, I think now you can, but before you could.
Right.
5 years ago, you couldn't exempt taxes from school.
You needed permission from the
That's
board
right.
to do it.
So, and that never came up. And I remember we asked permission on 2 or 3 buildings. The Lions Den, Parish Hall, that type of stuff.
So basically, town taxpayers have been subsidizing their
Yes.
tax.
Yes.
Does it make a difference that they're nonprofit and a registered charitable organization? Does that mean anything?
Unfortunately not. The
No.
CNIB, Canadian National Institute for the Blind, and the Legion is, I think I might be wrong on that, but the YMCA is, but there's a bunch listed in the act by name. But being a nonprofit doesn't grant you tax-free
Exemptions,
status.
okay, so that would be my question there. Oh, boy.
Well, if they're given advance notice, they simply put that in the budget and the government will
Yeah.
cover it. So I don't think it's a problem going forward. The issue is now,
Yeah.
so we have to decide.
So they
They've
would-
budgeted to
they
not
would have
pay
given
it, but
notice
we've
before.
budgeted to receive it, so, you know.
Because your pre-tax notices are based on the previous year's
Oh,
levy,
yeah,
and
I
the
see.
previous
Yes,
year's
okay.
levy was 0, so.
Wow.
Why
So
would-
how to screw up,
Why
why
would
not
we,
be?
why would we even
Like,
contest it? If it could be put in the
That's why
budget,
that
why
would
would
be
we even
interesting.
contest it?
yes,
Well, that's why she was very friendly about it.
Yeah.
yeah.
Just happen, they just assume.
And you think that they could go back to the ministry and say,
Well, I don't know that, and I can't, of course, can't speak on behalf of the minister, but I would be shocked the service they are providing, that the ministry would not subsidize it, because if they decide to close tomorrow, it would be the ministry stepping in, so.
And it would be good to know if Paul's thought is true, that if they put it in the budget, that it would be paid. Right
For
now, it
next
wasn't-
year.
Next year. Yeah, if it would be put in the budget, we're presuming that it would be paid.
And I haven't talked to her since she was in, she was going to do some
That'd be
double
good.
checking and make some phone calls to see,
Yeah.
but
So let's follow that up.
Yeah, I'd like to see they just take back to administration for more
just table it.
paperwork and then bring it down. Just to see if there was a resolution done.
Okay.
And thinking about the future.
The motion is
Yeah.
to table, bring it back to administration for more information.
yeah,
It would be interesting to get a bit of a legal opinion as well, since that was your first comment.
Well, just when I look at like that 274 is the things you can. And the one E is that you can do it in council, or in council's opinion, the compromise or abatement is in the best interest of the community. And this is where we run into the problem with the word and, is that a result of policy or program passed by bylaw or resolution for which public notice has been given in accordance with section 128. So you have to give public notice, and then you have to have a public meeting, like the year's coming to an end and the taxes are already levied, you run into that
Right.
wall there.
So we might, we just won't get it this year, but.
Um,
I second Paul's motion.
For the tabling, when do you want it brought back?
I think for the next, our next.
Yeah.
Next meeting.
Is that,
Next council
is
meeting.
that one the one that we're looking at that may not happen?
Would be
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
well,
Whatever the next meeting is.
Next
Whatever the
regular
next
meeting.
meeting is.
next council meeting.
Here to,
Okay, so Paul made that motion, or?
Yes, Paul.
Yeah.
And,
I said,
yeah.
Sounds good.
okay. We're on the same page. All in favor?
Mr. Chair, you want to call the question?
All, we all in favor?
All in favor? Yeah, I was right in reading this next one.
Okay.
Another one for tax abatement request. When you say a total of 12 units, we're talking 6 buildings?
12 roll numbers, and some of your roll numbers in this municipality, who knows what's on them?
Okay, I'm assuming there's a duplex on each piece of property.
Most probably,
Yeah.
if there's 5.
And it's not a townhouse style.
Yeah.
They are duplexes owned by one person.
And this is, again, with the base tax, and it getting applied to both units, and they don't set rents, and budgets were set, so on and so forth.
I don't know how we can tell one ratepayer in a previous week that because they have an empty lot next to them, that, and they own both, that they have to pay both taxes, and then turn around and tell someone else that they don't. I think we have to be consistent in that decision.
You haven't really been though in the past. The tax roll's been consolidated over time just on people asking for it. The lots are never tied together, they're not consolidated. There are people that have bought tax enforcement properties, they've been merged into one roll, so they save on the base tax.
On the town meeting of May 7, 1986, delegation from the shelter workshop and the Bonami. In one paragraph it says, the question of the relator, that council consider providing a tax exemption for a period of 5 years, and point out that it's, there's some word missing. Time would be available until April 1987.
That's pretty clear.
So it was 5 years that they had that concession.
There you go, just for 5 years.
So we're not gonna charge them back all those
No, we
past
can't.
40 years.
We can't.
No, I know.
But what it does states is now.
Yeah, it
You charge the
clarifies,
tax.
yeah.
But I understand with the base taxes, if you have a townhouse, they're touching on a property. This guy's taxed differently, and this guy's, they're two separate entities. So they're taxed, base tax and a base tax.
Yeah.